Everyone knows Joe Biden, dementia patient. Fewer Americans are familiar with Joe Biden, complete and utter asshole, which is who he is and has been his entire political career.
That's the truth.
But there is this fiction that Joe Biden is, he's old Uncle Joe. He's a nice guy, loves his family. He's a bad person and always has been. He's not like at a podium being grilled by anybody that he would need to be that angry as a response.
It's supposed to be like everyone's having a good time and relaxing, and then he out of nowhere just goes off the handle.
This is Joe Biden's like old man shouts at cloud moment to end his presidency, where like he's so desperate for relevance and for some sort of legacy that he feels like he has to overcompensate for the fact that they forced him off the ticket, that the Democrats face planted on election day. Donald Trump, this guy, he says he's a threat to democracy, is going to be president of the United States again. He failed horribly, and he's trying to salvage some sense of his pride.
I don't have to tell you Americans are ready for what's next. Moving beyond the hardships of inflation and economic anxiety towards building a better future for our families. Ensuring greater access to more affordable energy that powers daily lives, reliable energy that fuels innovation and economic growth, and the abundant energy that keeps our nation safer and more secure. It's all within our grasp. We'll do this together, building a brighter future for us, powered by America's oil and natural gas resources. You can learn more about all of this at api.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Just a catching strays over here.
You're in for a hell of a show.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Tuesday to you, and welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program. I'm Josh Holmes, along with Comfortably Smug, Michael, Duncan, John Ashbrook, left to right across your radio dial as always, fellas. Great to see you. Big 2025. We're well underway. How's everybody doing?
Terrific. I mean, people, you can feel how excited they are. We're right around the corner from President Trump returning to the White House. It's like everyone's in a great mood. There's really good energy going into this year.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our profound courage in producing this show today. Spaghetti's out there in Herndon got up at 4 a.m. before the snow even started, so he could make it in here to the studio.
Did he really?
He did. And we're all in here, and the city is shut down. There's snow all over metropolitan Washington, D.C., but not us stopping.
No,
we're here.
I will say I'm as popular as AIDS in my house.
Yeah. 17 days without the kids in school.
Yeah. It's running. Emotions are high.
When I told my wife I had to, come in and lay down a recording, it was like I signed up for the draft or something. Wasn't super popular,
Smash, how are you doing, pal?
Pretty good. I shoveled the driveway a couple of times.
Yeah.
Made sure that I was in here for the recording because I cannot wait for the next 2 weeks as we anticipate President Trump's return to the White House.
I was kind of hoping for the sweet release of a heart attack that they've talked so much about. What is that? Yeah, I mean, look, you're Indian. You must be a doctor. What? Why is it that when you're shoveling your driveway, is that like the most prone time for heart attacks? I don't really understand it.
Personally, I've always had an easy time shoveling the driveway when
I
had to do it.
You haven't seen a shovel
easy.
in decades.
No, it's not that tough a job. The thing is, when you're born in Denver, I thought I remember you being from Minnesota, so you should be used to this. These coastal elites, they just don't know how to handle it.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? Like every time there's a big snow, they're always like, be very careful. Like it's a high propensity for heart attacks.
Yeah, well, I think it's a combination of a couple of things, Josh. I think it's...
Oh, good. I'm glad we have somebody who read a medical journal.
Yeah, I think you're overexerting yourself, number one, and you're doing it in the cold. And so you're breathing in...
Capillary.
You're breathing in super cold air.
Yeah.
Which isn't great for the pulmonary situation.
The cardiovascular system.
Yeah. It's kind of a shock to the system.
Okay.
So, and you're bending over.
Yeah.
And you're using muscles that, when you get to I
can understand a backache, but a heart attack seems like it's...
So my advice is always, the best offense is a good defense. Before the snow arrives, you should salt that driveway to begin with.
Common misconception.
Common misconception.
No, you get the thick rock salt from Home Depot, and it takes care of it.
I'm with Smug here.
Not when you get more than 6 inches.
Yeah, at a dusting, you're right.
No. Y'all are thinking
pre-salt.
I covered that thing like it's a saltine cracker. Like that driveway is coated.
Yeah, but when you
top to bottom.
get over 8 inches or like a foot, all you're doing is you're creating a slurry underneath that snow
Best
to
case
become
scenario.
ice.
Best case scenario. Yeah. Best case is a slurry and you're out there first thing in the morning shoveling.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is that your slurry becomes ice and then you're shoveling and you basically just
you
created
haven't
a
put enough
hockey
salt
rink.
in there.
You just created a hockey rink. Well, I don't know. Either way. Look, we're hardest working men in show business
That's right.
here. And thanks to Spaghetti, I had no idea you made that kind of commute. How about that? Well, I mean, look, he had 2 weeks of marinara to get him going, and so he's all ready, fired up and ready to go. We got a great show for you. Biden is struggling a bit to close out his presidency. And you've seen all the mayhem that they've got going on, but I will give you a little better read on that. We're going to give you a readout on what the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader of the Senate, and Trump are all talking about in terms of what this agenda looks like and the pace of play and everything else. We got a little variety for you along the way. So let's get right into it. You want it, fellas?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I just have to play a clip to begin with, and then we can just sort of react to it.
Yes.
Clip 1, if you don't mind, Spaghetti.
I think what he did was a genuine threat to democracy. My being the oldest president, I know more world leaders than any one of you ever met in your whole goddamn life.
Like apropos of nothing. He's just mad as hell.
Yeah, what I love about that clip is everyone knows Joe Biden dementia patient. Fewer Americans are familiar with Joe Biden, complete and utter asshole.
Yeah.
which is who he is and has been his entire political career.
That's the truth.
But there is this fiction that Joe Biden is, he's old Uncle Joe. He's a nice guy, loves his family. He's a bad person and always has been. And also what I love about this clip is that it seems like a very casual environment. There's a piano playing over the top. Our apologies if maybe that was hard to make out. But
there was ambiance in the room.
Ambiance. It's like this is a very casual thing. He's not like at a podium being grilled by anybody that he would need to be that angry as a response.
It's supposed to be like everyone's having a good time and relaxing, and then he out of nowhere just goes off the handle.
This is Joe Biden's like old man shouts at cloud moment to end his presidency, where like he's so desperate for relevance and for some sort of legacy that he feels like he has to overcompensate for the fact that they forced him off the ticket, that the Democrats face planted on election day. Donald Trump, this guy he says he's a threat to democracy, is going to be president of the United States again. He failed. He failed horribly, and he's trying to salvage some sense of his pride.
I wish they would have asked him which world leaders, because in Joe Biden's mind, he's probably thinking like Gorbachev, Ho Chi Minh, people from his era who he had maybe met on some junket.
Lenin.
Well, and here's the thing is,
exactly.
how many of those world leaders he's talking about did he meet when Hunter had business in China?
Oh, exactly.
I mean, we finally get the photos once that the Democrats have lost. They're like, also we're going to release photos of Joe and Hunter Biden smiling next to President Xi on one of Hunter Biden's business trips that taxpayers paid for him to fly over with Joe Biden.
Yeah, the whole thing we were all lying about.
Like Duncan said, like this whole myth of like nice Uncle Joe, this is such a corrupt family of terrible people. And the American people finally get an inkling from it. The media finally is like, okay, well, let's just see these pictures now that we know he's not going to win again. No,
there's nothing that gets the deep state to find religion like Donald Trump becoming president of the United States again.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's so funny to watch. And the other thing that came out, I guess, over the break that I roared about was all of a sudden every publication in America decided to join what the Wall Street Journal had done in July to say like, well, as it turns out, he was not lucid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All of a sudden, like the New York Times and everybody else is like, okay, so let me level with you for a moment. He wasn't running the country, and we're like, wow, it's sort of information that would have been helpful to the average American last year.
Yeah.
When they were trying to reelect this cadaver. Can you imagine? If he had not had that debate performance? They would have kept his ass on the ticket and straight-faced to all of us, and all the media would have gone along for the ride, calling us, elder abusers and all these kind of things. When in actuality, they all knew that this guy was completely out to lunch the whole time.
I mean, right before the debate, the last message that the media was trying to push is they were like, watch out for these cheap fakes. They're going to try to make Joe Biden look like he's not loose and that he's old. That was their last attempt, and then we saw the debate with our own eyes.
Memory.
And we're like, shit.
Yeah.
It's true. It's the way it went down. They were all prepared to elect him to a second term.
Which is just so insane.
And then in December, like a month and a half removed from the Democrats' defeat, they're like, yeah, no, they kept a very close circle because he wasn't awake most of the time.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, thanks for the information, guys. That's terrific.
I mean, that's the thing is like,
tell me more about like the 1998 Minnesota Vikings. I mean, it's like not relevant anymore. It's just completely useless information. But reporting they're like, no, we did all that. We
I still talk about the 98 Vikings. That's a hell of a team.
I know, it was a hell of a team. It was a hell of a team. But anyway, so that event where he was doing all this, it's actually funnier.
I know,
You were like, you're talking about the
your
obvious.
goddamn life. What a line.
It was the Medal of Freedom deal.
These are like layup things to do at the end of the administration, and he's fucking them up.
Yeah, he's like, God damn. And plus, it's like probably some reporter, like 25-year-old reporter in a White House. I know more world leaders than you ever met in your goddamn life. They're like, yeah, we haven't been outside the country. You're right, Mr. President. Anyway, what this was got a fair amount of attention last week because he awarded to people like Hillary Clinton and George Soros.
Yeah, it's like all the worst people are getting awards.
Except I want to pass for Denzel.
Denzel Washington?
That's only like acceptable.
I want to pass for that because, and I realize he's probably a partisan Democrat, but I like my artists uncompromised by my political views in a lot of different ways. That guy's a hell of an actor.
Hell of an actor. Flight, Training Day, Courage Under Fire.
I watch everything that he's in no matter what.
Yeah, it's the best.
I mean, Training Day was just something. He should get the medal for Training Day.
Yeah.
But like tossing one of those on Hillary Clinton is hilarious.
So funny.
He's like, oh, hey, here you go. You got this. I wrap this around your neck, you old bag. and then George Soros, who quite honestly is responsible for not only funding most of the Democratic Party through dark money efforts and disclosed efforts and everything else. Now his son's involved in collecting politicians like postage stamps.
Yeah.
But he then also didn't acknowledge somebody.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys remembered all of this, but when Obama was doing this at the end of his presidency, he was like, let's throw old Joe a bone, and threw the Medal of Freedom around him. It's a big honor, right? It's sort of a little bit abused here by Biden, a lot bit abused. But he didn't reciprocate at all.
No.
Didn't throw one back at him.
Nope.
Wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I mean, this goes towards my theory that there is serious beef between Biden and Obama. Like, for a long time, on the surface, I think they'd act like they're best friends. But it was Obama who told Joe, step aside, it's Hillary's go in 2016. And you know that Michelle Obama is friends with Hunter's ex-wife. There's bad blood there. So I mean...
He gave it to Hillary and not Obama.
That's the thing. It made it all the more apparent.
Yeah, he wouldn't even pardon Obama. I mean, he's not doing anything for Obama. He's just leaving him hanging.
Yes.
Well, and the Soros thing's hilarious because it's in no shortage of why the American people lost patience with his administration is that Soros, while part of funding all these democratic efforts that Biden and Kamala and everybody else were very much engaged in, were funding all of these prosecutors that didn't actually prosecute crime.
And that's the thing is, here, I'm giving you an award for blowing our chances in this election because Americans were fed up with crime. Good job, George.
Great job.
Yeah. And the whole reason Obama gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom at the end of the Obama administration was that was like the Rolex at the end of your career, right? It was the retirement party for Joe Biden. But of course, Joe Biden thought he should be the guy. Yeah. And that's why he ran, because he's just a stubborn old Irishman. I get it. And it's the whole reason why he refused to get off the ticket as long as he did. So, of course, it's not going to be reciprocated because it's like, well, Obama orchestrated the entire coup.
Yep.
It's also so, you look at some of these other names, it's completely hilarious. It's what you would imagine a Democratic Medal of Freedom thing. Anna Winter.
Yeah.
They gave one to Bill Nye, who's not a science guy.
Very definitively not a science guy. And Ralph Lauren.
It's basically like the Met Gala of all the
It's what it
lizard
is.
people.
Yeah, that's what it is. Ralph Lauren, Anna Winter, who's been making these garbage women's fashion magazines for so long, and like, if any of you have people in your life that read these things, not very many people do anymore, by the way, but you know, there's some interesting stuff for women in there. They're sort of interested in fashion or whatever. But it's all between these just mega partisan articles where they're like, well, today we're profiling AOC, like a very thoughtful voice of the people. And they act as though these are like middle of the road things.
And they've completely left Melania out in the cold.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, this woman is a fashion plate of fashion plates in the White House, and they never even give her the time of day. I don't know if you guys saw this over the break, but apparently Amazon is doing a documentary on her life and the things.
Really?
Yeah, I hope it turns out well, because I think it'd be very interesting to learn more about her background from a factual standpoint.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he's not done stepping all over himself. Somebody put in his notes that he ought to have a thoughtful gesture, including just awarding all of his major donors medals of freedom. So clip 2, if you don't mind, Spaghetts.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
All right. So here's the context. He's like, if you don't mind, I want to bring a kid up on stage and sing him happy birthday. If we wouldn't mind, everybody just sing him happy birthday.
It's like, oh no, here goes Joe again.
And they're like, oh, great. So the kid goes up. I mean, the moment of his life, he's standing with the president of the United States. He has literally less than zero idea who this person is. He doesn't know his name.
Also, parents at this point, wouldn't you be aware? Keep your kids away from Joe.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's just,
I think word has gotten out, right?
but imagine going through all of that and being like, you know what, Mr. President, we have to get this kid up on stage, be a nice gesture. People could see how magnanimous you are. Sing him happy birthday. No problem. I'm not going to learn the kid's name.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't want to. Happy birthday, dear.
Then he steps off the stage and he's like, and another thing, reporters, I got to tell you.
And then he loads into the reporter.
I'm like,
What a dick. I mean, it's just amazing. Just incredible. So it like prompted us to think for our question of the day. Remember, you got to like and subscribe in order to do that. And then you can comment on our YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. But we ask our question, what's your favorite Biden dementia moment? I mean, now that we've got
So many
4
to choose
years, like there's so many that come to mind. I think we're going to probably do another segment before he stumbles his way or shuffles his way out the door, where we highlight some of the things that you said. And we'll definitely read a whole bunch of them, but I think I'd like to put some
what
of
one
them.
of my favorites is, and I brought it up to family over Christmas because people have forgotten about this one. Where's Jackie?
Where's Jackie?
Oh, yeah.
I was
Jackie's
just going to
dead.
say, that's my
Where's
favorite.
Jackie? I can see ghosts.
What a horrible moment.
Well, she died 2 weeks ago, tragically,
Yeah.
Mr. President. Thank you. And this is, in fact, her crowd.
But it's a good point.
That's why they're here.
It's a good point because I don't want people to get recency bias here. Like, really take some time and think about it.
Yeah, go back in
because
the archives.
You got to go into the archive because there's some crazy ones.
I mean, it's so good.
Yeah.
And they're hard to find because the initial 2 years, like the media didn't want to talk about them at all.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about, they've led our show for years. so you can go back and check all those out. But whatever you decide, we're going to pull a few of them. We'll probably do a segment on it in addition to just sort of reading your comments. So make sure you do all of that. Another PSA.
Big time.
Little
Big time
PSA.
announcement.
We're very excited about this. The whole city, as Smug has said, is very excited about the inauguration. Everybody's coming into town. You can see a new wave of conservatives coming in here, and it's like just got a lot of energy for people. Well, we're going to be a part of it, not surprisingly. You knew we would be. But I don't know that we even knew that we could do something like this. We're going to be live from Freedom Plaza on Inauguration Day, January 20. And just a reminder, Freedom Plaza, that's a straight look down Pennsylvania Avenue between the White House and the Capitol and where the parade goes by. We're going to be doing all of that. We got a lot more detail to share in the upcoming days, but wanted to give you a heads up that you know where you can find us. And hopefully you know where you can find us on the YouTubes.
Yeah. It's going to be a banger.
It's going to be huge. Huge.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And I'd like maybe your white jacket. Can that return? Your Iowa jacket?
I don't know. I mean, it's DC. I'd probably get robbed wearing that thing, but we'll see. Hopefully security's tight on that
Something
day.
strikes me there will be more security than usual.
And I hope so. I hope so.
So we got all that coming on. When we come back, fellas, you'll recall we did our Man of the Year. And the Minions voted. And they've come back, I'm told, according to Wolf, that there was a clear mandate.
Yeah.
On who has won the 2024 Ruthless Man of the Year. We're going to announce that winner when we come back to you right after this. I don't have to tell you Americans are ready for what's next. Moving beyond the hardships of inflation and economic anxiety towards building a future, a better future for our families. Ensuring greater access to more affordable energy that powers daily lives, reliable energy that fuels innovation and economic growth, and the abundant energy that keeps our nation safer and more secure. It's all within our grasp. We'll do this together, building a brighter future for us, powered by America's oil and natural gas resources. You can learn more about all of this at api.org. Okay, fellas, exciting times. We wrapped up the end of the year with a question about the Man of the Year. We all made our pitches. We all had, I thought, very good cases to make. And now we have the results because remember, unlike last year, this year we were just going to let people vote on it.
The Man of the Year, an incredible bro, one of the finest bros that we know, I think, and that is Megyn Kelly.
Oh,
She deserves it.
she's so
win.
great.
Our Man of the Year, a resounding victory, 42% in a four-way race. That's a mandate right
well,
there.
and it was some big names. You had Elon, you had Mark Andreessen, I had J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to get to a certain threshold in order to win that kind of thing.
It's a pretty big win for her. I know she has plenty of accolades and an incredible show.
But the Ruthless Man of the Year is not something.
It's a real win for me, I would say, too. You know,
your name's not going on it. It's just hers.
I think it goes small underneath in italics. You know, nominated by Michael Duncan.
We should have a big plaque somewhere for this. And your role seems minimal here.
It's small. It's small, but it's there.
I mean, you nominated, just a quick recap, you nominated her not only because she's a great friend of the program who's done outstanding work over the last year, but there was a specific reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think what she did on the trans issue and defending women and women's sports and everything was really courageous. And I think, she was like...
Which is ironic now, her winning Man of the Year.
That's why I like it so much.
That's why I think
it's the best.
And that's why the Minions are so funny.
And she would in particular appreciate that.
I think more than anyone.
Yeah, right.
That is very funny.
Yeah.
That's very funny. Well, I love it. Anyway, so a big win. Thanks for everybody to weigh in on that. I'm told there was like thousands of these things, right? Well,
Yeah.
like thousands of responses, many.
Tons.
Yeah, many times.
But 42%.
That's pretty good.
42.
Big
Out of a
win.
four-way race with those names?
Yeah.
Big win. Big win.
Do we have any idea who got second and third and fourth? Do we want to do that to anybody?
I can tell if you want to know.
Yeah, please tell us. Let's.
Elon Musk came in second.
Elon was in second.
Way of the future.
JD came in third.
JD was in third.
And Mark Andreessen came in fourth.
Well, and look, not the same kind of household name. He is in certain circles, but I can understand, like, these other people are in the front of your newscasts every day.
Well, I would say just like what everybody says at the Oscars. I'm just honored to be nominated.
Well, yeah.
You
I
know.
mean, it is an honor.
It's an honor to all of them.
Huge. And like we said, this election was a team win. It was the Minions getting out and voting. It was a lot of people who stepped up when it wasn't easy to support President Trump and help get the big win.
Yeah, all great submissions. Thanks for your commentary. Let's get on to what's going to be next. Now, we talked a little bit about this last Thursday and gave you an overview of all of that and where things need to go. We've had some clarity over the weekend and into today about exactly the way that the Speaker, Majority Leader Thune, and President Trump are now thinking about it. And they've started to put some meat on the bone in terms of what's the agenda, right? They're all on the same page of what the agenda should be, but these are big, comprehensive things, and you're dealing with Congress, which is never easy. But this is, according to Axios here on Monday, what's coming on the Hill. President-elect Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson plan to push for what could wind up as the biggest bill in American history, a mega MAGA reordering of taxes, the nation's borders, federal spending, and regulations, transition and Hill sources told Axios. Washington will soon witness a furious multi-trillion-dollar legislative and lobbying fight that will likely dominate politics through late spring, possibly beyond. At stake, unprecedented spending to tighten borders and remove people here illegally. Certainly people voted for that.
Amen.
Huge tax cuts, energy deregulation, plus presumably unprecedented spending cuts to help pay for it all. We're told the bill would include Trump's popular no tax on tips campaign promise. No surprise there. Raising the federal debt ceiling could also be included. Republicans who control both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue in 15 days initially were inclined to split up the border and tax packages for a two-track process. We're about to explain all that. The one-track plan is based on the calculation that one big Trump-branded bill has a better chance of passage than splitting it up. It motivates people to vote for it, a transition source tells us. The bill would use reconciliation process. We've gone over that. We'll do that one more time, which allows budget-related bills to bypass the Senate 60-vote threshold, only needing a simple majority. This is likely to take longer than the storied 100 days. That's just something media always puts on, like, first 100 days, as if there's a magic number to it. There isn't, but that's a thing here in Washington, which will end April 30. The most optimistic timeline for a mega bill passage is late spring, April or May, which really means June. It could even take until fall. All right, I want to break this down for you all just a little bit. I don't think that this is as settled as Axios is representing here. In fact, our good friend Hugh Hewitt did an interview Monday with President Trump, where he said, look, I'm not really committed to one bill or two bills or whatever, so much as we're all on the same page for what we're doing and knowing that these things have to get done. Like, nothing is just going to be sidelined. Like, all of it needs to get done. So you can do it one, you can do it two, however you want to do it. It's up to you all. Speaker Johnson, I think, is heavily preferred doing the one big deal. Thune would like to separate the taxes from the border, whatever stuff, to try to do two. And they both know their legislative bodies well. And so presumably their difference of opinion is based upon their ability to get these things done and done quickly. So, there's like, you got to listen to that sort of thing. Doesn't mean that one side's going to prevail or another. There was a whole lot of indication coming out of what President Trump had put on X and on Truth Social over the weekend about him favoring the one big bill. He sort of clarified that with you. Either way, look, it's a good sign from my perspective that Speaker Johnson was elected in the first vote as Speaker. Because there's dissension in the ranks, as there always is. And we know what a disaster that can become because of watching the McCarthy process 2 years ago. And 15 ballots or 17 ballots or whatever. But Trump, like, saying, no, I want this, overcame a whole bunch of those things, and people basically fell into line to get there. That's a great first step for anybody who's interested in getting this agenda done, because that's really what it's going to require in the end. Don't you think, fellas?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're dead on with that. Seeing that speaker vote go through, there were a couple of holdouts, and then after like a 5-minute chat, we're back to business. Got it done on the first ballot. And the other thing is, like, you saw so many folks in the media and Democrats hoping, they're like, oh no, Republicans are divided. Nope, they didn't get their wish. That's what they want more than anything. So when President Trump said that it doesn't matter whether it's one bill or two bill, I think he's right. I think the voters spoke loud and clear on Election Day that President Trump's agenda is the one that America wants.
Yeah, and Washington can get so bogged down in these process conversations about are they going to do it this way, are they going to do it that way? And you said it, Smug, a lot of it is driven by the media who is hunting for conflict on the Republican side. All they want is Republicans fighting each other, and all President Trump is going to do is drive toward fulfilling those campaign promises he made last week.
I think the thing that strips all the oxygen out of the room for that sort of process story bullshit is momentum.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's one or if it's two track, but whatever happens and happens first has to happen quickly, and there needs to be progress. The ball has to move down the field. And as long as that's going on and the Republican Party stays on the same page together, like, we're going to put points on the board.
100%.
And like, Holmes, you always say this, but like, you know, especially when it comes to the issue of taxes, like, a lot of this is sort of baked in, you know, that like the American people are expecting it, and like, we got to get it done, because ultimately Donald Trump's going to be judged on how the economy is doing in 2 years when we have the midterm election. So like, that's important. One other thing I would say though, and why I kind of like the idea of doing it all in one, is like, what is the saying? A teaspoon of sugar makes the medicine go down.
Yeah.
It's like, there's going to be a constituency for the border components here, and there's going to be a constituency for the tax package.
Yeah, it gives you
here.
something even if you don't like the whole damn thing.
Right. And look, I mean, that may be in the House, it might be more of one. In the Senate, it might be more of the other.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're sort of like forcing everyone to not make perfect the enemy of the good by putting them all in the same thing and being like, look, we got to get this done. We all agree we need to get this done, so let's get it done.
Yeah, it's really well said. One of the luxuries that we have here on the Ruthless Variety program is not only all of you listening in, but alongside of you in exactly the same way are the lawmakers, the Republican lawmakers and their staffs themselves. We've always, since the beginning when we were just audio only, have enjoyed a huge audience amongst people. We get notes every time people fly home about little comments about what we're doing and whatnot. So let me just take a minute to just address you, the staffer and the lawmaker here. One of the things that I learned when going through a process like this, and this is really ambitious. This is more ambitious than anything that I was a part of in terms of a legislative agenda for right out of the gates. But one of the things that you just brought up, Duncan, was the media. And what they're trying to do is find dissension in the ranks here. And there's going to be things in the context of a literally economy-wide, country-wide bill that are not going to be your favorite things in the world. And they may be things that you've actually campaigned on and talked about a lot. Do yourself a favor. Don't have those conversations externally right now. Yes. Right? If it comes down to the end of it and you've got major problems and you need something changed, people are going to work with you to make sure that we get to the right, because failure is not an option on this thing. And I know Republican leadership enough to know that they're going to do everything that they can to try to accommodate everybody to get to a majority status. And remember, we only have 2 votes to lose in the House of Representatives. So don't lock yourself in to, well, what do you think about this idea that this committee wants to drop in there, and you coming out and saying, oh, over my dead body, because you may find out that the other side of the ledger is something that you literally are, it's the reason why you're in politics itself. And if you're locked into over my dead body, but that outweighs the over my dead body
don't
piece
deal
of it,
yourself out.
Don't deal yourself out.
Right.
And don't give the media a reason to then take you as the whipping boy for why this thing is going to be done, because there are no heroes when you're trying to get something done. The only hero is the person who's the holdout, who stops it and gets the status quo liberal agenda. That's the hero. And you'll see the people who are walking out saying, like, I'm not voting for X, Y, or Z if it doesn't do X, Y, or Z. Those are the people you're going to read about in the New York Times, Washington Post, Associated Press, and all the hill rags. Those are the people. And the reason is the media wants those people to be the face of the challenge in order to stop the momentum that you were talking about. And it limits your ability as a leader to go back to those people and say, I understand that you feel strongly about this, but here's 3 other things that you told all of your constituents are the reason you're coming to Washington, and it solves exactly what it is that you said. So can we have a different conversation? Well, anybody would have a reasonable conversation, no matter how unreasonable you are, unless publicly you're locked into an over my dead body position.
Right.
That's the thing, is keep family business in family.
Do it.
And especially for staffers, there can be this temptation with the media of them being like, I can get your principal so much attention. Just give me a crumb, give me a little bit. It's never worth it. You'll get 5 minutes of attention, and then everyone will remember for the rest of their lives you can't be trusted.
Mm-hmm. It totally is true. So the process is they got to pass a big budget bill that its enforcement under law only really sets the caps by which you're spending money. None of that actually goes into law. Like the stuff we actually spend is through the appropriations process, which is, I know I'm getting technical here, but it's entirely separate. So don't worry about somebody passed, they have a budget and it's like, well, this funds deficits for years. It doesn't fund a goddamn thing. Don't worry about that. What it does is provide you a vehicle to go in and do this stuff that Trump and Johnson and Thune are talking about. So as a constituent, and I know there's a lot of different advocacy outfits out there that are trying to get you ginned up about all of these things, the budget itself is just a framework and a vehicle in order to get all these other things done, which is why you voted for President Trump in the first place.
Exactly.
So slow the roll, right? Give these people a little bit of room to do this. But as they execute this, you're going to see a whole bunch of committees coming up with the things like we talked about prior to the break, a little bit of like the electric vehicle mandate stuff, right? Stuff that's not like taxes and the border that everybody else is talking about, but no less important in terms of exercising the Trump agenda here. There's going to be a bunch of different things, bunch of different constituencies for. Maybe you have 2 or 3 people who are against it. The question for leadership is how they try to get people in under the tent with other stuff that they love more than that. And whether it's 1 bill or 2 bill, I don't care. But all of these guys are going to need some room to work here. Trump understands that. I mean, that's why he was on Hugh talking about, I don't care, just get it done. Because he wants to give everybody the room in order to do it. And getting it done is the only thing that's important here.
Yeah, no, I think that's really well said. And I think that the infighting that we've seen in Congress in the past, if that can be reduced to something that's not a hindrance for getting these bills across the finish line, that's one part of the project. Infighting inside the Trump White House that we saw in the first term really stood in their way of accomplishing as much as they could have accomplished. And I know Susie Wiles, we talked about this before the show, I know Susie Wiles has put out an edict to say that there is no drama on her watch, that she doesn't want people using that platform as a way to springboard themselves and their image and their character ahead of the president and his agenda that he was voted to enact.
Yeah, it's one and the same, right? I mean, what she's doing internally is basically what we're talking about for Congress here. Like, don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. Don't let other people.
And we
get
saw her
involved in
execute exactly that during the campaign.
Exactly.
I mean, this was an insanely disciplined campaign built to win, to get across the finish line.
Yeah,
there
100%.
weren't all these distracting leaks, and there weren't 2 camps fighting each other, even though the media tried to play it up.
Yep.
Like who's Susie in control, or is Chris LaCivita in control?
And they were both just
right.
No questions.
Cool as a cucumber.
Yep,
right.
totally.
And so I think they want to take that into the West Wing, which is going to be, it's just going to be huge, man. Because I remember, especially like that first year of the Trump White House the last time around, I got lunch with a guy, from the West Wing, and I'll never forget this conversation because I was like, man, it seems like everybody's at each other's throats over there. Like, what is going on? And he's like, Duncan, what you got to understand is about half these people are Democrats.
It's true.
It's just,
Listen, it's a different coalition.
It's a different coalition.
Yeah.
I get it. But I think the first time around, so many people were new to Washington and new to this, how this was set up. I think the Trump administration this time around has learned so many lessons on staffing and how to execute the agenda that I'm anticipating we're going to be very successful.
Yeah, that's right, because in the last couple of years, we've seen the true colors of those troublemakers that started early on. Scaramucci and the chick who's on The View. Like, they were the ones who were inside looking for the the big spotlight on themselves, not on the voters who put President Trump there. That's the reason he's there. He's fighting for America. This is a guy who cares about our country more than maybe anybody else in the entire country. And I am hopeful that people listen to what Susie is saying and they actually help the president.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, chief of staff, that's a tough job. That's a lot of responsibility. And I think most people don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Hardest job in Washington, no question about it. I mean, look, the other thing is all those people you just referenced, they all still exist. And what's happening in D.C. and what will happen over the next 20 days that'll carry into the first 100 and beyond is there are a whole bunch of people who are claiming to know everything.
Yeah.
Right? They're claiming to be, because they had one conversation with the president, that they know exactly the way, and they're the only ones that know, and they stir up trouble. My point is to lawmakers, it sounds like Susie's doing this as chief of staff, put the blinders on, like a racehorse. Put the blinders on, look forward. You're just running for the finish line here. And you don't have to worry about all of the chaos on each side, because up to this point, it's been fine. You've had a honeymoon period between Election Day and Inauguration Day where, some nominees are your biggest trouble, that you've had to argue those kind of things. But your agenda is not. I mean, people largely know what people voted on. They know what Trump ran on and what he intends to do. That's great. That all stops on Inauguration Day. And immediately the shooting will begin from the outside. But if you have those blinders on, you're just focused on trying to execute it and not focused upon, what somebody wrote about somebody. Or I was on a call this morning where somebody is like, well, here's the thing. The House is just going to pass whatever Trump wants, and the Senate's just going to have to take it. Now, there may be some truth to that statement, but don't do that now. That's not the last thing you want to do if you're trying to get this stuff done is do that or the reverse of it. The Senate's just going to do what it's going to do, and the House just has to take it. Don't create the internal dynamics. That's the way you start ruining stuff. Pretty soon you get a committee chairman. It's like, well, go fuck yourself. Right? I'm here for 6 years. You guys can go fuck yourselves. That's the kind of thing that ends up happening when you have rhetoric like that. I think Thune and Johnson are really well positioned to work incredibly well together. They understand that politics is a team sport. And, there's a lot of people around here in politics who never played team sports, quite obviously.
Yeah.
And you can see that on the way that they sort of address, like they never had a team sport victory anyway.
Well, it goes back to what Smug was saying about, like, keep that in the family. It's like, you want to know the number one sign of a failing franchise. I don't care what sport you're talking about, but when stuff comes from the locker room out to public,
Dude,
and when stuff from the locker room gets out in public, that's a dysfunctional team and that team can't win.
Yep.
It's like, dude, that is such a good example, because all these championship teams you see who always win, it's like a code of silence. I remember when the Broncos had their dynasty going, they had a thing in the locker room where the offensive line, if anyone got their name or their photo in the paper, they had to pay a fine in towards it. Because it's not about them, it's about the team.
Yeah.
That's the kind of discipline. Like, if we can have... Republicans saw what a big victory we had on Election Day. It felt good. Do you know why it felt good? Because it was one team, one dream. You keep that going. Listen, if we all stick together in this, we can't be stopped. We saw that on Election Day. Keep that energy going. Get this stuff done. It can be done. It will be done if we all stick together.
Yeah, totally, really well said. And Susie Wiles is entirely on that page. I mean, a couple of quotes from this article in Axios they're just fantastic. She never tells others what she tells Trump. If she disagrees with him, it's not done in front of anyone, and it doesn't leak. That's the kind of leadership that you need. That's how you get this kind of really complicated stuff done. Because let's not be confused about this. For those of you who don't do this for a living, this is going to be really hard. This is going to be really hard.
Which is like why the role of chief of staff is so important, because it's about managing the info flow of the principal. It's about keeping President Trump focused on where he can have the greatest impact in moving his agenda forward. It's about making sure the right people are in the right meetings, that there aren't unnecessary distractions that take the president off of accomplishing that goal. And that's why the chief of staff and somebody like Susie being in that position is so crucial to getting this stuff done.
Incredible. Well, anyway, we're going to be covering this all the way through. Just wanted to give you a little appetizer.
Yeah, a little teaser.
Things to look for.
An amuse-bouche, if you will.
Of course, the effete Michael Duncan.
The amuse-bouche.
Sorry, I'm cultured.
You want a little variety, fellas?
Always.
So this is something that we've talked about before on the program. But CBS News did a piece on this, so it provoked some thoughts. When do you take your Christmas tree down?
Good question.
We may have differing views on this. Smug, what's your take on that?
So, longtime listeners of the show remember my Christmas tradition of I would get a fake tree, right? And
puts it up in like Halloween.
Yeah, it goes up early, but the day after Christmas, it's going down the garbage chute, right? Gone. It comes
new
in
one
3
every
pieces.
year.
It goes, new one every year. Don't want to store it. Don't want to worry about it. Get a cheap garbage one off Amazon for $30. Down the chute it goes. This year was different though.
Yeah?
Yeah. So my wife got a tree she liked and decorated it with all these decorations and such. I never put in that work. I usually have just someone decorate.
I'm
it
surprised
for me,
to hear that.
And so I was wondering during Christmas, I was like, I wonder when this tree comes down, because usually I'm like, the next day. But now that we have these like,
took a
fragile
while.
ornaments, I'm gonna break these things if I have to do it.
Wait, you don't even you just take the whole thing and throw
Yeah.
it down with ornaments included?
Yeah, I tossed the whole damn thing down.
Okay, interesting. A lot of memories made there.
So I wake up the day after Christmas. It's like 10:30, 11 a.m. I come downstairs, tree's already gone, everything's already packed. And
No
I was like,
way.
well, that solves the problem.
She did it.
She took care of it.
Wow.
Problem solved.
Well, she was a listener of the program.
Yes.
Maybe she heard your...
Yeah. I mean, she'd in horror been like, I can't believe you're throwing the tree away. That's wasteful. But I was like, no, I don't have to worry about it. Down the chute it went.
Oh,
But, I guess she's figured out if you take problems off of my plate, it's not a problem anymore.
that's interesting. Okay, all right. Well, that
great
may be
approach.
one way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure she would agree with that way of putting it, but you're the one that's here, so we'll take your word for it. Duncan, what's your...
I don't know. It's sort of a gut thing. I think it kind of depends on what day Christmas falls on.
Yeah, it was a Wednesday this year, which is a little bit in between of
Right,
things.
right.
Yeah.
So, like, how much time did you get after Christmas to still enjoy that tree?
Yeah.
What we tend to do is start putting things away
Yes.
the weekend after, but don't touch the tree.
Yep.
The tree's there for ambiance.
Yeah.
It's going to be enjoyed after the kids go to bed. Maybe you can have a cocktail with your wife. Maybe put on a roaring fire.
A little roaring fire.
Just enjoy the tree a little bit longer.
Totally agree with you.
So I don't know. Sometimes it might be 7 days. Maybe it's 10 days or what have you. But I'm of the opinion you put the tree away last. Get everything else, in the storage. And then finally the tree goes out. And then the holidays.
Yeah, that's where Ashbrook, what do you guys do?
Well, we cannot throw ornaments away like Smug because we've got like baby's first Christmas
Oh, that's
and
what we have,
baby's
too.
second Christmas. We can't just throw those away.
Yeah, now they're getting saved. I guess this is why,
Well, and then now my wife's got these ornaments. These ornaments that are they're like expensive ornaments.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy to me.
It's crazy. We used to make ornaments, and they were not. Yeah, they're special things, and I'm ragging on my mom and pop about it. They were great stuff, but they certainly weren't like porcelain.
Yeah.
Same. Which is what I've got going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all porcelain. Some of them is like a handprint on a piece of paper that's tied with a ribbon.
Adorable.
So
really
you
darling.
can't throw that stuff away. But we don't live in the past. As soon as Christmas is over, we take the tree down. We look when they're going to pick it up at the curb, and ours is gone.
Wow.
No one's got their tree still up, right?
No, I will tell you this. So in my house, it's not enough to have a tree. You have to have 3 trees.
You're kidding.
I have 3 fucking Christmas trees.
She
in my
loves
house,
Christmas.
right? So one of them's down. The other one's sort of dismantled. I spent literally the entire weekend last weekend taking garland down and packing trinkets. And my wife is it takes us a calendar week of doing nothing else to put all the stuff up.
Do you have one of those huge segmented canvas trunks? Because
Yes.
that's what we have for our
Yes.
ornaments, where they kind of go in like this.
Ours looks like
a matrix.
Ours looks like the kind of workstation that you would have in a mechanic store.
Yeah, right.
With you roll it, and then there's 17 drawers.
Yeah.
And the fact that an Allen wrench isn't coming out of there, but it's you just there are places for the ornaments. I mean, this is an intricate thing, and my wife, I give her credit. She does 90% of this stuff. I'm the hauler.
Yeah.
I just take the stuff out of there.
Hey, the hauler's important.
The hauler's important.
And if the back goes out on the hauler, whole holiday's in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So
that's a long way of saying everything now is done except that tree.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's probably going to make it midway through this week, and then I'll probably.
Hey, it's the Valentine tree, everybody.
Well, I have a neighbor in the back that I swear to God, like 2 or 3 years ago, it was mid-February. I could still see that thing through their windows.
I'm telling you, my dad has a buddy who left his Christmas tree up from Christmas almost until the summer. This was a live tree, by the way. This was in the 70s. It was a live tree.
Still watering.
He put it in his basement, and he waited so long to get another tree the following year that he went down to his basement and he pulled that raggedy old tree up and he put it up in his apartment.
Wait, it was a live tree?
It was a live tree. So when he pulled it up the next year, it was nothing but sticks.
It had no needles.
Total fire hazard. But it's such a great story. We always get a kick out of that.
That's great.
That is. Well, it's fun to start the new year with all of you. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, like and subscribe. And remember our question of the day, which what is your favorite Biden dementia moment? There are tons of them. I want you to do your research because we're going to do a full thing on it. Check out our summer. Great merch. I hope everybody enjoyed the merch from Christmas. Tons of you ordered it. The napkins were a big hit.
Huge hit.
But all the stuff seemed to be a big hit. So glad. I hope you're enjoying it. You got to let Wolf directly know if you have any problems.
Yeah.
Because Michael, you can't. He's been working with his hands so much. He just gets emotional if you have a problem with any of this. Anyway, with that, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, again, thank you so much to the Minions. We're up to about 80,000 subscribers. Let's hit that 100K number. So, until next time, Minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Thursday. Stay ruthless.